I love engaging with the One Piece community, whether it's through discussions about power scaling, theories, or by making peak content like this. It's only been getting funnier recently with the birth of Agenda Piece, in which fans use slander and memes to promote their favorite characters. But this made me wonder, what did the One Piece community look like in the early days of the internet? What was the discourse like back then? So I had no choice but to go on a journey back in time. Welcome to reading 20-year-old One Piece takes. By the way, I saved the craziest take for last, so stick around. And I have to say shout out to Willie Nordwrench who gave me this idea. I figured the best way to find some is to go to an old forum like arlonpark.net, which was really popular in the early 2000s. And then I filtered the general One Piece thread by oldest. I found this guy called Captain Charter that posted a lot back in 2005. I wasn't even born when this was posted. Am I the only one that likes the more creative and unique fruits, such as the Barabara no Mi, Dorodoru, and so on, than the Logia fruits? The Logia fruits are just so cliché and annoyingly overpowered. It's like, oh my god, fire power, or oh my god, lightning power. It really doesn't seem as creative to me. Alright, let's see what other people thought about this. Bellamy's fruit over anyone else's. Oh, we got an early Bellamy glazer. Their name is even Sarquis. They would have probably started the Bellamy agenda if they were active today. Everyone reading this should subscribe to NAKAMA GEKKO. Yeah, this guy's right. Listen to him. Wait, how did he know? Logia fruits are the best. If I can eat Gomu Gomu fruit or the Maramara fruit, I choose Maramara, of course. Or maybe both of them. After all, Ace is stronger than Luffy. Well, you would die if you eat two fruits, so not a good idea. But we seem to have a disagreement here. I kinda get both sides. The Logias are flashy and powerful. They feel like the ultimate type of fruit. But the more unique ones are what give One Piece its real charm. Stuff like the Chop Chop fruit or Wax Wax fruit seem really goofy at first, but they're so creative and makes the world feel alive. Without those weird, unexpected abilities, Devil fruits would feel way lamer. So that said, if I had to choose, I'm with Captain Carter. I'd take the more unique fruits over Logias any day. I also found an interesting question posted by Luki Suzuki. Which one of the devil fruits did Doflamingo eat? Do you think it's Zoan type Flamingo or maybe another one? Back in 2005, Doflamingo had only been seen at the Warlord meeting after Crocodile's defeat and in Mocktown after Bellamy got defeated. Both those times he showed that he was capable of controlling other people's bodies. But other than that, fans didn't know much about his powers. Maybe Doflamingo's power isn't a devil fruit. Maybe it's magic, like Mr. Golden Week's paint. This is a really interesting take for its time. That part of Doflamingo's power certainly draws a parallel to Miss Golden Week, whose ability is not talked about enough. Luffy didn't even have to see her paint for it to affect him. How does that even work? Imagine if she used it on some really powerful individual. I'm pretty sure he has the ability to control the actions of people, like they were puppets on a string. He said the word. Battle Frankie predicted the string fruit in 2005. If you're enjoying the video, don't forget to hit the like button. Can we hit 500 likes? That would go crazy. I thought it would also be cool to look at chapter discussions. This one is about chapter 422, released in August of 2006. This chapter occurs amidst the Buster call on Enies lobby. We see Luffy use Gear 3rd for the first time, Lucci's brief backstory, and the start of the arc's endgame. At first, I couldn't really find any real takes. Everyone was just thanking the user that posted the chapter. I guess it was a lot harder to read online back then. And you won't believe who posted the chapter, Battle Frankie. He must have been a legendary figure in the early One Piece community. But after scrolling a bit, I came across the first take. By Demon Days, shout out if you're someone watching. Did the flashback seem a little forced to anyone else? I mean, we never got to know exactly how Lucci got his lust for blood. Interesting. Let's take a look at the backstory. So the chapter reveals that when Lucci was just 13, a kingdom was being held hostage by a pirate crew. The world government sent Lucci in, and his solution was atrocity. He slaughtered all 500 of the hostages to make the pirates' threat pointless. Virgilius sums it up pretty good. Lucci then wiped out the pirates themselves. The scars on his back are from the gunfire he survived during the massacre, which was the government's first real indication of his monstrous potential. Now, Demon Days is right to an extent. This backstory doesn't explain why Lucci is such a bloodthirsty demon, just that he is. I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing though. Personally, I don't think Lucci needs to be a layered character. He's one of the rare villains that feels like they were born evil. A predator completely devoid of empathy. giving a concrete reason for his darkness could make him less terrifying. His pure inhumanity is what makes him so compelling. Back in the general forum, I found a very early Jinbei theory. Here's the thought I had. What if Arlong's mission in the East Blue was actually a covert operation for Jinbei? As a Shichibukai, Jinbei couldn't openly pursue world domination without the world government intervening, so he would need a proxy, just like Crocodile had in Alabasta. Arlong was perfect for this. His public split with Jinbei after the latter became a warlord was the perfect cover. Arlong's own ambition to rule seemed like a personal grudge, making his 20 million bear bounty non-threatening. But secretly, who could have been establishing Jinbei's influence in the East Blue? It's possible other fishmen were doing the same in the other blues. If true, the Straw Hats might eventually face a Jinbei who has secretly consolidated power across the 4 seas, all converging on the Grand Line for a final takeover. Just a theory, but it fits. What do y'all think? Okay, this theory is actually kinda good for something written back in the mid-2000s. At that time, we didn't know much about Jinbei, only that he was one of the warlords, and that he had some kind of connection to Arlong. So the idea that Arlong's whole East Blue plan was actually part of Jinbei's secret world domination scheme, that's a pretty solid guess. It even fits with what we'd seen from other warlords like Crocodile, who also had to do his dirty work behind the scenes. So yeah, I get why people thought Jinbei was secretly pulling the strings. Of course, it ended up being way off. Jinbei turned out to be one of the most honorable guys in the series, not a villain at all, and eventually became one of the Straw Hats. Imagine thinking he would be a ruthless villain and then seeing him steering the Sunny. Now here's an interesting question someone posted. What does the people say? I think Luffy is fit for the Shichibukai role, since he defeated one of them, mainly Crocodile. Let's see how people back then responded to this. Maybe after Enies lobby? It'd be funny if all the members of the Straw Hat crew became Shichibukais in the end. I mean, I could see Zoro taking over Mihawk's position and Luffy becoming one as well, maybe after he becomes the Pirate King. This one makes me realize that the warlords were viewed in a completely different way than they are right now. Back then, the concept of Yonkos hadn't been established, meaning that the warlords were seen as the top dogs of the pirating world. Even so that we had end of story theories about the crew becoming ones. Originally, I would have thought that the story would mostly be about dealing with the 7 warlords, so you can't really blame fans for thinking of them in such high regard when that was the point. Luffy wouldn't approve of the idea, and it's not really something that can be forced, so no, this guy gets it. I understand that the full scope of the government's atrocities weren't known back then, but freedom has always been Luffy's top priority since the very start, and at no point would he force himself to answer to a government, even if the world government weren't as awful as they later turned out to be. Now this last one is a really crazy take. Since we're all sharing wild opinions here, I'll throw mine out. I think current Zoro could actually beat Mihawk. I had this dream that played out like fanfiction. Zoro challenges Mihawk, who underestimates him and starts with his little knife. But Zoro lands some solid hits, forcing Mihawk to pull out Yoru. In their final clash, Zoro's Sansen Seikai technique actually breaks Mihawk's giant black sword. Mihawk wants to quit, but Zoro insists and even lends him his Sandai Kitetsu. Dazed, Mihawk charges, trips on a rock, and knocks himself out. Dream logic aside, with all of Zoro's new power-ups and discoveries, I genuinely think he's at that level now. What do you guys think? I have to admit, this is a really fun post, but the take is actually insane. They already knew that Mihawk was the strongest swordsman back then. That was the whole point of Zoro's fight with him at Barotie. Zoro got humbled hard, which ended up being good for him. He now dedicates his entire life to surpassing Mihawk. So saying Water 7 Zoro could beat Mihawk is like saying pre-time skip Luffy could solo Roger. Zoro was strong at that point, sure, but he was still miles away from even sniffing Mihawk's level. The dude was almost killed by Shu at Enies lobby. What makes it even funnier is that 20 years later, after all his insane upgrades, Zoro still probably isn't beating Mihawk. He's closer than ever, but he's not there yet. That's what makes this take so funny. It's impressively wrong. Like Hall of Fame levels of confidence. Luckily, some people in 2005 had senses, like Wolf would here. Mihawk would him again. Zoro is nowhere near ready to take on Mihawk. They aren't even in the same league yet. That's all it takes we have time for today. But there are plenty, and I mean plenty more. So let me know if I should do a part 2. By the way, YouTube think you're gonna love this video. I hope they're right.